Hey everybody, it's Joe from Papa Jobo's, and today we're going to be talking about Stranger Things Season 4, Volume 1, and I'm going to be talking about spoilers, all of them. So if you don't want that, obviously go away, but if you do, then stick around and have some fun with me. The first thing is I want to talk about the bad stuff. I like to do my reviews like that. There's one really, really bad thing in this show. It's horribly bad. I didn't like it. It made my wife quit watching it, and she hasn't come back to the show, and that is the violence against children. It was over the top, it was graphic, and it was disturbing. I didn't like watching that part of this show at all, and it almost made me quit watching it. The thing that really bothered me about it was they kept showing it throughout the course of episodes, and then, you know, they showed teenagers being graphically murdered, and I didn't like that either. It just, I don't like shows like that. I don't like movies like that, and I don't like messages like that. However, if you stick with it like I did, and I'm sure many of you did, it gets a lot better during, say, the middle 3 episodes. That stuff clears up. You don't see a lot of it, but then it comes back in full force in the end, and even worse because of some of the noises and sounds you hear of the little kids screaming. I don't like that stuff, and so for that alone, it brings the score down a little for me. Now, is there anything that's woke in this film? There's one scene that I guess some people might consider a little woke, and that's Robin going off on the psychiatrist who runs the lunatic asylum or the insane asylum. And it's a little preachy, but really, is it overly woke? I'd say on a scale of wokeness, it's a 3 out of 10. And beyond that, there's nothing else in it that's woke. It's a really good show. The storytelling is on point. I guess we're going to launch right into the good stuff now because there isn't too much bad stuff. Well, let me say this. There's a couple like plot hole type things. You've got Vecna. Now, I want to say this before I go on. I knew who Vecna was. I knew that Vecna was one of the kids from the Hawkins, what is it called, lab. I knew it was going to be one of them. From the second I saw him, I knew it. I just didn't know who it was going to be, and I didn't quite figure that out until right near, I think, the second to last episode. And I'm usually pretty good about figuring those things out, and I like doing that in these types of shows. But regardless, there's a scene where 11 and 1 are talking, and he has a chip in his neck, and he's able to touch it. He's able to access it and show her where it is. Why couldn't he just cut it out and throw it away himself? All they had to do to fix that scene was show him trying to do that. Maybe 15 minutes of filming, a few hours of post-production of him trying to go like this and he can't do it. That would have made the whole sense. That would have made the scene make complete sense. Now, are there other little plot holes in it? Not really plot holes. There's the gang of roving vigilante basketball players, which becomes a little nonsensical as it wears on. In the beginning, it makes some sense, but then it becomes a little bit of a parody of itself, I think. And it kind of just ends in a meh. Maybe we'll see more of it in Volume 2, the pitchforks and the going after Frankenstein's monster type of story. But it's really a storyline that didn't interest me after, say, the first 3, maybe 4 episodes, and I thought it kind of went nowhere. Another storyline that interestingly doesn't go as far as it needs to is the Will and Mike and Jonathan storyline. I'm sure we'll see a lot more of it in Volume 2, but they set the stage nicely for them going in for a rescue and then some weird things happening there. But beyond that, there's not really anything bad about this film. In fact, if it wasn't for all the child violence, I'd give it a 9.5 out of 10. I really, really liked it. The storyline was great. There's a character that we know about, Max. She starts to become a central role, especially in the beginning, and I was a little bummed out about that. I wanted it to be Lucas because I really liked that character and I really liked that actor. I thought he would have been better in that role, but then they changed my mind because of one scene, and it's one of the best scenes in the show. It's when she's sitting in the cemetery and she's reading that letter to Billy. It's a really touching, emotional scene about somebody who's experienced great hardship, trauma, loss, grief, and sorrow, and it comes across as one of the best scenes I have seen, not just in that show, but in a lot of shows. It's done really, really well with a lot of heart and really great emotion, and I loved it. I think they nailed it. I think the scene between Will and Mike when they become best friends again, sitting in that room right before they're getting shot at by all the crazy army people, really works. It works really well too. I love those types of scenes where people get back together. I love that they haven't killed off any of their main characters. They better not do that. Having said that, they do kill off a lot of kind of like kind of people that you get to like. That's an MO in this film. They did it with Barb. They did it with Sean Astin. I forgot his character's name. They did it with Billy. You ended up liking Billy at the end of season 3. And I think, unfortunately, they're going to play that out with Eddie and kill him off, probably in some sort of great moment of sacrifice from him. And they gave a little bit of this away in the teaser. They have a guy up on top of, I think, a trailer playing a guitar. And we know that music is somehow able to open up a pathway to the different realities, at least from the bad side to the good side. And so my guess is he's sacrificing himself for the team at that point. They gave too much away in that trailer, by the way. That's what I think is going to happen. As far as other really good stuff in this show goes, the storytelling is wonderful. The story arc's awesome. I loved Elle's story. I loved the development of it. I loved how it came together. I just didn't like all the child killing. Ugh, just keep that out of it, man. It was too graphic. It wasn't quite in line, in my view, with what they'd done in the past. Yes, the Barb thing was pretty graphic, but that was a one-time little shot, and I was like, oh, okay. And they didn't do a whole bunch more of that. Keep the child killing out of it. We just don't need to see that in shows. Now, there's another character in this that annoys me a little bit, and that's Robin. She grew on me near the end, I'll say that, but I feel like she was just a placeholder, and she had a little too much to say in this main group of people. I didn't understand why she was there so much and why she was taking so many lines from people. Now, they do get into the main characters quite a bit. Nancy and Steve's story is awesome, especially Steve. He gets to go out there and be a hero. He gets to go out there and swing a big stick like he does in every season, except in season 3, not as much, but he gets to go out there in this season and do that and become a hero and do some really cool, awesome things and be Steve. Has some great one-liners. Dustin is Dustin. He's smart. He has a lot of insight. He's funny. He does some really fun things in this show. Mike and Will's story is going places, but it's a little... It was really well done, but it goes kind of into a boring place near the end. I'm sure it'll get more exciting in Volume 2. You got Joyce and you got Hopper. Now, that story is interesting. When it first started, I was like, well, what's the point of this? There's no real supernatural stuff going on. It's just a rescue story. It turns out to be very Indiana Jones, in my opinion. You have just a lot of fun adventures that surround Joyce and Murray as they go to rescue Hopper. And then Hopper has some really great interactions with, near the end of the episodes, starts to have some interaction with some supernatural elements, specifically a Demogorgon. And Joyce ends up rescuing him. Now, I have no clue where their storyline is going to go in this. There's really no cliffhangers there for them. There's really no foreshadowing. I don't know what they're going to do with them. I just like the fact that she went out of her way to rescue this guy because she loves him. I thought it was a great storyline, and I thought Murray was a great... I thought that guy was awesome. I thought it was funny. I thought it was endearing, and I think that he's going to get a lot of acting roles after this. They do a really good job of focusing on the main characters this time and leaving a lot of the ancillary characters where they need to be. You know, they place them when they need to be there. The parents are there when they need to be there. The cops. Everything's done really perfectly, in my opinion. I liked this show a lot. One of those characters, though, is Jonathan. He's one of the main characters, and he kind of has I don't know. It's not the most interesting storyline. It's not horrible. It's just not all that intriguing. And I didn't really care too much for it. He was a little confused and literally dazed and confused and didn't really do much. I mean, honestly. So I'm hoping to see a lot more of him in Volume 2, but you can't have everything in a show like this. There's so many characters, so many plot lines going on, and they handle them all, really just almost all of them so well. I loved it. I can't wait for Volume 2 if they'll leave the violence against children out of it. I don't need to see that. You can imply it. Maybe you can even show it once, and then you do shots where it's, you know, chest up. You don't need to show the floor of all those kids being horribly harmed. That was my big turnoff to this film. But I give it a huge thumbs up, even with all that, which is kind of strange for me. I usually don't give shows like that a thumbs up. That's how good the storytelling is. It's how genuine it is. It feels very 80s. Also, the nostalgia, you can't beat that. Oh, my favorite scene is the D&D scene where they're playing D&D. I loved it. It reminded me of an old dungeon master I used to play with. He wasn't as flamboyant, but he was as creative and fun. And that's what D&D is all about to me. I love that scene. I love the scene with, like I said, Max at the cemetery. Probably it is my second favorite scene. I really loved Luke's storyline in this show. They did a really good job developing him, and I'm looking forward to seeing him do some more heroic things. I'm looking forward to finally seeing Mike and Will do something. I hope that they get them into a position where there's a lot more adventure going on around them. And then obviously there's Elle, there's 11. Her storyline is the main storyline. It's what the show's about to me because there's supernatural powers there. I love fantasy. I love sci-fi, and I love her powers. I can't wait to see what she does to save the world. I hope they do not end this series on a bad note and kill her off in some sort of heroic sacrifice. That would be horrible. But having said that, I can't see them doing that because they've left all their main characters alive. They've held true to that. I have a video on why you do that. And they're doing it, and I hope they keep doing it because if they don't, it would make this series go downhill for me big time. All in all, though, I give this series a solid 8 out of 10. Without the child violence, it becomes almost a 10 out of 10, something like a 9.8, but it did lower it that much for me. Like I said, 8 out of 10. You're going to love this stuff. I'm Joe from Papa Jobo's. Peace.